2019, soon after the government of India had abrogated Article 370 and revoked the statehood of Jammu and Kashmir, Mangalore's collector, an IAS officer, resigned from his post, resigned from the IAS because he felt that democracy in India was under threat. 5 years later, Shashikant Senthil has won an election from Tamil Nadu. Shashikant, thank you so much for joining us at The Print, and congratulations for your victory. Take us back from 5 years ago. What were the reasons that you had resigned from the IAS? Because we know what a coveted position that is. What drove you to the point of resigning from the IAS?
So, I would like take you back to the situation at that time. We just had the BJP-led government from 2014, that is with Prime Minister Modi, for 5 years, and then anybody who understands politics would be, very wary of what was happening, because this was a very different style, and I was also very keen on how things are going to pan in this country. And then it was very clear that we are going towards a majoritarian kind of a system where 80% of the population is pitched against 20%, and that politics is used to win elections. So the entire policies and whatever was brought, the propaganda model, the capture of institutions, the attack on universities, everything was copybook what happened in majoritarian regimes. So not only me, many people who understood was wary of that. In 2019, I was the DEO for
DEO is
the district election officer
right.
of the general elections. Again, when the same government came back with a greater vote share, then I realized that this is really going towards something. And then at that point of time, when immediately they abrogated Article 370 and they moved in the army into a state. So that for me was a very important visual in any democracy, that an army moves inside a whole state and then converts the state into a kind of prison for some time, So I thought that this is not done, and somebody needs to do something. But there was complete silence at that time, even from civil society, parties, everything. So I thought that, that I would be better off fighting this rather than working with the government.
But it's such a, because as I mentioned, IAS is such a coveted sort of a post in the country. Did you have any apprehensions?
I didn't have much, because, I am a beneficiary of a kind of politics, I come from a very humble background. I am a beneficiary of the politics that we had for the last 60, 70 years. And I was able to become an IAS officer only because of that politics. And I was able to remain in a peaceful country because we believed in certain values, like, believing in celebrating pluralism and stuff. So now, what is the use of that, leaving that and not having a country which can bring more people like me? And then I wouldn't be doing my job. So I thought that is the thing that drove me, and if I can, propagate where I came from, then there's nothing better than that. So I had to come out of it and fight it. Because I think in every society, the people who can see things, people who can understand things, if we don't speak up and if we don't, kind of agitate things, then we can't expect anything to happen. And also, the way I understood democracy was, it's about asking questions, it's about questioning it. Otherwise, it doesn't survive.
But what about the bureaucracy at large? What do you feel were your peers' response to what you describe as a threat to democracy? Do you think people shared those kind of fears, the fears that you had? Or do you think the bureaucracy had gone silent? Was there fear? Explain what was in the mind of bureaucrats.
Absolutely. Everybody was fearful. Even now, today, everybody is fearful. It's not that the bureaucracy is silently, complying. But everybody inside is very fearful of what's happening in this country. Bureaucracy as an additional thing that they can't talk, they are bound by conduct rules and stuff. But the bigger problem was the larger intellectuals of the society who couldn't who didn't talk, and we were silently witnessing what was happening in front of us. Probably it was too fast and too shocking for all of us. And then came this NRCCA, which was a copybook thing of what happened in Germany. That why would a government want to register people, and then build detention centers all over the country? I know personally they were building a detention center in Bangalore. So this is like, this is like what we read in novels. So the bureaucracy is absolutely worried. Anybody who loves this country, who understands this country, is absolutely worried. That was the situation then also. But then I even wrote in my resignation letter that I would be better off outside because I'm not bound by these conduct rules. Because as a bureaucrat, I cannot talk about politics. I cannot criticize the government. And that's the promise I have made. Statutorily, I'm controlled.
Yeah.
So I had to get out of that.
Do you see that as an institutional or a design problem with the bureaucracy? That the bureaucracy is just bound by the conduct rules, that they can never speak up? I'm not talking about this government or that government. Do you see that as a design problem in the bureaucracy?
Bureaucracy by itself is not supposed to be, involving into the real politics of stuff. It is not supposed to. That's how it is designed.
But do you see that as a problem?
No, I don't see that as a problem, because that was the structure which was required to implement policy. If every bureaucrat starts putting his mind into, what is good and bad, then the larger idea would get lost. But at the same time, so that's the structure of bureaucracy. You cannot talk. But I, as an individual, also felt it was very important to fight at this position. And it was not ethical of me. This is the exact word I used in my. It's not ethical of me to stay inside and do that. I need to get out and do it openly. So that is why I came out. And in fact, many of my colleagues was very respectful of.
Yeah, I was going to come to that. What was the reaction like? And also from the government and also the political forces that you were opposing, did you face any kind of backlash in the aftermath of your resignation?
There is always a backlash on such things.
What was it like?
No, it was from many fronts. You have the government attacking you. They're trying.
What was the government's
there was so many other things, like, they don't. You are again, inquiries are put on your career.
Did you face that?
Yeah.
What were they like?
Yeah. See, like when you resign, you are supposed to be relieved. That's how the civil service rules are. I was not relieved for 3 years, and then my intelligence reports were repeatedly sent back to find out something new, to see if there is something wrong, and just to find. And my family members, many people were inquired upon. I know the intelligence started snooping on what was my career like and where did I go wrong and stuff like that. Apart from that, there's a huge ecosystem which attacks you, for whatever you are, and then they try to bully you in many levels. So all that happened, but the point is not.
And you were anticipating that?
Yeah. See, when you have no skeletons in your cupboard, you don't be that worried about such things. So I was not at all, worried about, all these things, and it went on. But most of my colleagues and people who knew what we were doing, and they thought it was the right thing to do, because many people could not do because they have their own family compulsions and stuff. I didn't have much.
But you're saying that even then there were murmurs within the bureaucracy that a lot of officers were very uncomfortable with what was happening, but they just could not do anything.
Absolutely. Even today, there are so many people in this country, including bureaucrats, especially bureaucrats, who don't like what's happening. Absolutely don't like what's happening. They are very, very, happy that any kind of resistance comes towards this. It's not that they are political. It's not they are involving in politics. But, we have sworn upon the Constitution to protect certain values. And if those values are destroyed in front of our eyes, you can't simply sit and watch it, right? So the bureaucracy is also absolutely worried. Everybody is worried. It's just that who can talk and who cannot talk. So I found myself as a person who can talk. So I came out.
And what made you take the plunge to politics after? Did you have a plan when you when you resigned from the IAS? What did you think you're going to do?
Absolutely not. So when I resigned from that day, I fondly remember, my only fear was what is going to let this country talk. There was absolute silence on these things. And my judgment at that time was it will take at least 2 or 3 years of various, movements and stuff to make the intelligence of this country talk. uh, then I started, kind of trying to do my part by talking to people, addressing students, trying to make them understand what's happening, meeting so many pressure groups, meeting so many people in the society to see, to give a perspective of where this is going, and continuously did that for 6-7 months, traveling all over the country. I have some of my colleagues and friends who did the same thing. So many of us worked on this.
Resigned?
Not only resigned, people who are in the civil society, people.
Okay.
So we went around all over the country talking about it, and then trying to bring people who think alike together, and then move towards some kind of action. And exactly at that time came this NRCCA, which required more explanation because people didn't understand what this was. So there we played a huge role in trying to make people understand what this is all about. Then sparks started coming in, students started taking it up, many groups started taking it up, people started understanding what this is. And then this whole movement in this country started against the NRC. That included a lot of intelligence. Until then, I had no idea of coming into real political battle.
So it is the NRC, the CA that made you actually take the formal plunge into politics?
Absolutely.
How did that
not
happen?
like that. I was always apprehensive that the only answer any fascist government will have for such people's movement is violence, because they have always used only violence as a weapon. Terrorizing is their weapon. So I was apprehensive of that. I didn't know when it is going to happen, and they have this knack of creating violence within people. That is the biggest problem. It's not that government will fight you, they will make you fight each other. So this happened in Delhi after the Shaheen Bagh protests. It was an orchestrated riot which was done, very well executed, along with the bureaucrats and many other people. And then in that Delhi riots, I got to see how this could move. And then I realized one thing is that this is too early, because innocence being dragged into this fight has to be after a political space is gone. So I realized that one needs to fight them in a political space first, because that space is still remaining. So that is when I thought 24 might be a good time, that since we have democracy, we have elections, we have other things, one needs to fight them in a democratic way. So that is when, and since I have.
But post 2019, at least at that time, the Congress was seen as a declining force. Their numbers were at an all-time low, marginally more than 2014, but they were seen to be on a decline. Why did you decide, and how did you end up joining the Congress?
Sanya, this is an ideological fight. It is not. See, every political organized party has three things. You have the ideology, you have the organization, and you have the leadership. And all these three things are different. It's not the same. Organization might be in a very bad state. That could be improved. Leadership could also change. But ideology you require in a party to move the party in a steady thing. And the only party which has that ideology, that base, that value to move this country, and which has already moved this country, which has formed this country, was the Congress. And I don't think anybody has any dispute over that. So Congress was the ideology, Congress was the base on which we can fight this. And I was very clear about it. No matter how organizationally there is a problem, it is my duty, our duty, to build the organization up. And we had a great leader in Rahul Gandhi, because he was the person who had the human, the idea of because I always felt the language of Congress is, walking. It's not even talking. So I found him as the person who could do that and lead that. So we had the leadership and we had the ideology. Organization is for us to build. So with that faith, I had entered into the Congress organization. And in fact, my only request to the party leadership, and the party leadership also agreed, is to build the organization in some way, get involved in the organization in some way, so that strength can be built. So that's my entry into Congress.
You were also, from the conversation we were having yesterday, you told me how you were the backroom, war room person for the Congress in Tamil Nadu, and then in the Karnataka elections as well, Telangana, Rajasthan. What did you do to kind of energize the party organizationally? And I think this is a question that a lot of people would be asking, that from 2019 to 2024, what did the Congress manage to do organizationally within the party to kind of resurrect it in this fashion?
See, first of all, it's not me. It's not the me person
no,
as
of
such.
course,
It is an idea. Congress is actually an idea. There are many people who are actually Congress who are not in the party, right? In fact, the way we see this fight is not even between Congress and BJP. It is between two mindsets in this country, which has been fighting for a long time. You know, what did Buddha fight against? He fought against the hierarchy. This is the same fight. It is a fight between equity, people who want equity, and people who want hierarchy. And along with it comes with other things like, you know, celebrating pluralism, giving rights to people. On the other side demanding duties, and the other side demanding rights. This is the fight. You know, it can be named in any way. Right now it's called Congress and BJP, but it has been happening in this country for a long time. So for me, you know, so it's not about me, it's about the idea, and how many of us are going to participate in that idea is the question. So when I came into the organization, my focus was my people, the cadre. I think that is the huge force of this entire idea. So I started working with them, and then the Tamil Nadu elections came, and we had a great leader in Rahulji, because he was the one who was guiding us. Like, you know, I am a newcomer into the party. Why would somebody give me that responsibility of you know, participating in an election? So I had done elections as a collector for 10 odd elections I have done, and 2 parliamentary elections also was in that. So I tried to help the organization in whatever way, but my focus was in my cadre, in building, you know, showing love to your cadre is a huge thing in an organization. So I started building those systems.
The point being that the BJP's electoral machinery is so talked about, and the fact that they have this kind of organizationally, they became a hegemon over the last 10 years, where they have penetration into all possible sort of spheres. So how do you fight that kind of a massive electoral hegemon? So you have to make some organizational tweaks. So what were those? If you can give us some insight into the micro changes that that the leadership made in the party organizationally. What were some of the key changes?
So before going that, I just wanted to say one thing. This whole idea of BJP's organizational strength, in my opinion, is not complete truth.
Okay.
Half of that is just myth. You know, you have an RSS, you have the RSS organization, which is just built on, you know, something like a fascist organization, regimentization, you know, discipline, duty and stuff like that. But there are no core values. The value is just some kind of, you know, subservient, kind of just laid on in front of the leadership and do. So there you have an army-like situation, you know, that kind of an organization is there with them. But BJP as a party doesn't have a great organization, to be very frank. RSS supports them, then that becomes a different equation. See, to come to some tweaks, I'm not going into many, but I'm just giving one thing. Is like, you know, as I said, our cadre, today you go to any village, Sanya, you will find people who are talking about Congress, talking about how they got this house, how they talk about the whole idea of love, affection and living together. All those things you will find at least 10 people sitting and talking that. So you have that idea imbibed into Indian mindset for a long time. And so if I communicate with them, if I'm able to establish a communication channel from top to bottom and sort of converse with them, then that itself is a huge thing in an organization. Like how many organizations can converse with your cadre? So one aspect that we started from Karnataka was conversing with the cadre, making the cadre feel, yes, we are with you, the leadership is with you, you are on the right track, let's work together, let's fight this. So that conversation is something which we did in a very different way. So that all our organization from top to bottom, there is communication happening both ways. Now in RSS or BJP, there is no communication which happens both ways. It's just told and done. We didn't believe that. We believed in this, and Congress is all about conversation. And Congress is all about communication. So just by building that up, our cadre started getting motivated in many levels. And I feel, that's something maybe we might have missed for some time, and that's something which is revived. This is one aspect. There are many aspects like, working together to achieve something, to put them into one thing and give them some task. So there is always a problem in any organization of what to do. We are all wanting to do something, but what to do? So if you fill those gaps by giving them what to do and celebrating what we did. So to build up to an election, we had already worked on many micro tasks on which, it may range from celebrating Gandhi Jayanti in a village to just conducting some events for children, to make some rangoli competition. So many micro tasks were done, and we were moving forward towards that.
Right.
And Karnataka was first where we experimented, and we got good traction. And then the whole set of that was done in Rajasthan, and now also in the national elections.
So there was a refocusing on the cadre of
Absolutely,
the party.
absolutely. And I think that's a huge thing for Congress, because nobody can beat Congress in terms of manpower and goodwill. There are so many people who want to really participate. Even today, if you take the society, I think 80% of them are Congress-minded people. So to get them organized and to get them to do something is what we did.
Also now, moving quickly to your home state, to Tamil Nadu, we saw the Prime Minister throughout this election and even before the election really focus on Tamil Nadu. He made several visits to the state. We were all talking about BJP's South India push and how they really wanted to make inroads into Tamil Nadu. The fact of the matter is that they might not have won seats in the state, but they have managed to increase their vote share from, I think, 3 to 10%. Is that a cause of worry?
See, Tamil Nadu is a very different place. I can even understand that about South India, but Tamil Nadu is a very, very different place. It had its own social movements in the 60s and 70s, and it is still fresh in people's mind. You will find the most religious people, but you will not find people who can take it as a political weapon. There is no hate inside Tamil Nadu. So you can't develop that also. So BJP, with that core ideology of pitching 80-20, is not going to work in Tamil Nadu. And and they have burnt their fingers more than once. So now what they have realized is, okay, this whole idea of Vishwaguru was presented to this country, that Modi has been there everywhere, and now there is a state which is not budging. So now they wanted to erase that factor also. They started creating events in Tamil Nadu. There'll be huge event when Modi comes. They'll bring people together, and then everybody will come here and everything, and then the whole image will be created that Modi has now captured Tamil Nadu also, and he will tell some Tirukural in very very bad Tamil. All that. For us it's joke. For us it's content. But then that thing is shown in North India. So it's actually for consumption of North India that they have been showing all this. But otherwise, they are absolute zilch in Tamil Nadu.
What explains their increase in vote share though? Because it's a significant gain.
So they make strategic alliances with some parties with already some solid vote share. In fact, in this election, they had an alliance with a party called Patali Makkal Katchi, which has a very good caste-based vote base is there. And that vote base has reflected. And they now claim that to be their vote share, which has increased.
So you're saying they piggybacked on...
Piggybacked, absolutely, absolutely. In fact, the closest candidate who came to winning this one seat in Tamil Nadu was from PMK, Pamaka, in that alliance. It was not any BJP candidate. And I don't think they will be able to increase their vote share. So other thing they have been doing is investing heavily, buying off second-rung disgruntled people, antisocial elements, clear-cut antisocial elements. I'm not talking about normal people, and trying to show them as an organization, which is absolutely zero. You go to any Tamil Nadu and ask about RSS or something, people will ask what variety of rice it is. We don't know all those things. So it's not at all going to work in Tamil Nadu. Their organization is zero. Their ideology is hated.
Was Annamalai ever a colleague, in the sense, did you ever go to Labasna together? Because he was the other sort of former bureaucrat who took the plunge into politics, and he was so talked about.
Yeah.
Do you know him personally?
Yeah. He's a junior to me, 2 years junior. In fact, we had worked in a district in the capacity of me, he being a probationer in the district and I being the Zilla Panchayat president. So very limited touch. I know him in the cadre, but it's not about Annamalai as such. It's about.
But how do you see his career sort of going from here? Where do you see it? Because he was the person that the BJP was kind of banking on for its Tamil Nadu push in that sense.
Yeah. So personally speaking, I don't think BJP has this use and throw policy. I think he is being used and then will be thrown out very shortly. And I don't think that ideology is ever going to work in Tamil Nadu. It's not going to work in Tamil Nadu. And of course we will do our bit, irrespective of whatever parties we are, and irrespective of whatever differences we have within ourselves as parties, we will hold hands against this particular ideology coming inside Tamil Nadu.
I know you have to go, so I'll ask my last question. You mentioned earlier, and this is on a lighter note, you mentioned earlier how you had seen elections as an officer, as a bureaucrat behind the scenes. How was it different now to be on the other side, to be campaigning, to be out there amongst people? What was the difference?
It's wonderful, it's like very, very, very emotional also for me personally, because the kind of connect you have with people, I have experienced this as a civil servant, but that is always from a little bit of distance, it's not that I can jump and I can mingle with people, but right now I can do that, and people have shown enough love to me. In fact, within my duties as the national forum chairman, I had only limited time in my constituency to campaign, but the amount of affection they showed me wherever I went was tremendous. I could feel that, and that is very personal for me, and it's very nice also. And the amount of mandate that they have given me is like overwhelming. Like I never expected that much of a lead to be shown. So all that goes to show the political understanding of the people of Tamil Nadu. And I don't think, Rahulji once said in the parliament that, never ever in your entire life you will be able to rule the people of Tamil Nadu. He said that very explicitly. And I think it's true. You can't do that in Tamil Nadu.
Shashikant, thank you so much for speaking to us. And I hope in your political career, you never miss being an officer again, and you have a very flourishing sort of career in politics. Thank you so much for joining us.